There are moments in football when the entire world convinces itself that it has finally seen the last of a legend. Moments when the noise becomes overwhelming, the criticism becomes relentless, and the doubt becomes impossible to shake. And for Cristiano Ronaldo, the 2026 FIFA World Cup began with exactly that feeling. After Portugal's disappointing draw against DR Congo, the verdict from millions seemed completely unanimous. He is finished. He is too old. He is 41 years old playing in Saudi Arabia. Portugal would be better without him. Look at Messi. Look at the younger generation. For days, those words followed him everywhere. Television studios, social media, newspapers, podcasts, everywhere you looked. The same conversation? And if we are being completely honest, some of those criticisms were not entirely without merit. Against DR Congo, Ronaldo looked frustrated. He looked isolated. He looked a step behind the terrifying version of himself that once made entire defenses collapse across Europe. Portugal struggled. The attack lacked any real rhythm. And for 90 uncomfortable minutes, the captain looked human, perhaps for the very first time in a very long time. But here's the thing that people still refuse to understand about Cristiano Ronaldo. The criticism never breaks him. It never has. In fact, it almost always creates something far more dangerous. Because throughout his entire career, Ronaldo has treated doubt as fuel. The louder the critics get, the more powerful his response becomes. That is exactly why he has survived every era, every challenge, every generation, every comparison. From Manchester to Madrid, from Turin to Riyadh, and now to the World Cup stage once again. Because while most players try their best to block out criticism, Ronaldo seems to absorb it completely. He carries it, stores it, and then unleashes it when the lights are at their absolute brightest. Call it ego, call it obsession, call it pure determination. Whatever name you give it, it is the reason he has become one of the greatest footballers to ever set foot on a pitch. And deep down, everyone should have known exactly what was coming next. Because Cristiano Ronaldo has spent more than 2 decades writing the exact same story. The world doubts him, and then he answers. Again, and again, and again. So when Portugal walked out onto the field against Uzbekistan for match day 2, the atmosphere felt completely different. The pressure was enormous. Portugal needed a response. Roberto Martinez needed a response. But above all else, Cristiano Ronaldo needed a response. As he emerged from the tunnel, there was something instantly familiar about him. The posture, the confidence, the expression. Head held high, shoulders back, that unmistakable look that seemed to say, just wait. The critics saw a 41-year-old footballer running out of time. Ronaldo saw an opportunity. And just 6 minutes later, the entire world understood the difference. Ronaldo attacked the invisible space, the space nobody else noticed, the space that only the truly great goal scorers can see. As Cancelo approached the byline, Ronaldo was not standing still, he was not waiting, he was not hoping, he was calculating. 1 step, 2 steps, a subtle movement toward the near post, then another adjustment, then another. Tiny details, tiny movements, but those tiny movements created exactly the separation he needed. Suddenly, the defenders were reacting, and Ronaldo was already acting. The cross arrived. A low bouncing delivery, perfectly dangerous, perfectly difficult, the kind of ball that exposes the slightest hesitation, but hesitation has never been Ronaldo's problem. He met it on the half volley, leaning back, striking through the ball with absolute conviction, and in an instant, the ball exploded into the bottom corner. Goal. 1-0 Portugal, history again. The stadium erupted, his teammates celebrated. Millions of fans around the world exploded with joy. But Ronaldo was not smiling. And that is what made the moment so powerful. Because this was not a celebration. It was a statement. No laughter, no relief, no playful grin. Only that familiar expression, that famous Ronaldo stare. The look of a man who had just answered every headline from the previous week, every social media post, every television debate, every accusation. The message was absolutely clear. Finished? Who said I was finished? And suddenly, the entire narrative changed. Because football can be brutal. 1 week, you are finished. The next week, you are unstoppable. 1 single goal can change everything. And nobody on this planet understands that better than Cristiano Ronaldo. The criticism that had surrounded him for days suddenly felt smaller, quieter, less important, because the only response that truly matters in football happens on the pitch. And Ronaldo had delivered his answer in just 6 minutes, but he was not finished. Not even close. Because when Ronaldo smells blood, when confidence returns, when momentum starts building, something extraordinary almost always follows. 30 minutes later, it happened again. Portugal were growing stronger by the minute. Uzbekistan were struggling to cope with the intensity. The midfield had found its rhythm. The attack was flowing with real purpose. And then came the moment. Bruno Fernandes looked up. One glance, one perfectly weighted pass, and suddenly, Ronaldo was through. The timing was flawless. Cristiano Ronaldo was not simply surviving this World Cup, he was beginning to dominate it. And with that second goal, the conversation changed completely. The same people who had questioned him after matchday 1 were now watching the first player in football history score at 6 different World Cups. 6. Think about what that actually means. Generations of footballers have come and gone, entire careers have started and ended, yet Ronaldo remains, still scoring, still competing, still making history, still refusing to leave the stage. And perhaps that is what makes him so genuinely fascinating. Because logic says, this should not be happening anymore. Football is not supposed to work this way. Age is supposed to win eventually. Time is supposed to win eventually. Every athlete loses in the end. Every legend fades. Yet somehow, Cristiano Ronaldo keeps delaying the inevitable, keeps finding another chapter, keeps finding another goal, keeps finding another reason for the entire world to talk about him. As the first half drew to a close, one feeling began spreading across the football world, a feeling that Portugal supporters know extremely well, the feeling that maybe, just maybe, their captain was not done yet. Was this the moment Cristiano Ronaldo officially announced himself to the 2026 World Cup? Because everyone watching could feel it. The energy had completely shifted. The pressure that had surrounded Portugal after the DR Congo draw was disappearing by the minute. The tension was fading, and at the absolute center of it all stood a 41-year-old captain who looked utterly determined to remind the football world exactly who he was. For Ronaldo, 2 goals were never going to be enough. They have never been enough. That relentless hunger is what separates him from almost everyone who has ever played this game. Most players dream about scoring once at a World Cup. Ronaldo was frustrated he had not scored 3. Minutes after his second goal, he nearly completed a hat trick. The chance looked almost impossible. The finish looked completely inevitable. The crowd was already rising from their seats. But an Uzbekistan defender got just enough on it to deny it. For a split second, Ronaldo froze. Then came the familiar reaction, the frustration, the disappointment, the absolute refusal to accept anything less than perfection. Because that is who Cristiano Ronaldo has always been. Not satisfied by success, driven endlessly by the pursuit of more goals, more records, more history, more greatness. And that mentality has never changed. Not at 25, not at 35, and certainly not at 41. Portugal's dominance eventually became completely overwhelmed. Bruno Fernandes was pulling every string in midfield. Nuno Mendes was tormenting defenders down the left. João Felix was flying forward at every opportunity. But despite all the goals scored around him, everyone knew exactly who this story belonged to. Cristiano Ronaldo, the captain, the record breaker, the man who had spent an entire week absorbing criticism before walking out and delivering the perfect answer. That is the thing about Cristiano Ronaldo. He measures everything, every criticism, every comparison, every headline, every doubt, and then he uses all of it as fuel for a fire that somehow still burns after more than 2 decades. While most players would have been completely crushed by the criticism following Portugal's opening match, Ronaldo turned it into motivation. And perhaps that is exactly why he has survived for so long. Not because he is physically different from everyone else, not because he is somehow superhuman, but because mentally, he simply refuses to surrender. The greatest opponents Cristiano Ronaldo has ever faced were never defenders. They were time, age, expectation, and relevance. Most footballers lose those battles eventually. Ronaldo keeps fighting them every single day. What makes this story even more extraordinary is the context surrounding it. This is his 6th World Cup. 6, a number that sounds almost impossible to comprehend. Entire football eras have passed during Ronaldo's international career. Young players entering this very tournament grew up watching him on television. Some were small children when he played his first World Cup back in 2006. Yet here he remains. Still scoring, still leading, still inspiring, still carrying the hopes and dreams of an entire nation. Every match could be the last great Ronaldo performance. Every goal could be the final masterpiece. Every tournament could be the final chapter, which is exactly why nights like this matter so much. Because they remind us never to take greatness for granted. One day Cristiano Ronaldo will play his final match. One day there will be no more goals, no more celebrations, no more records, no more iconic moments. Football will move forward as it always does. And if football has taught us anything at all, it is that the greatest stories are never truly finished until the very last whistle blows.